In Parshas Ki Sisa, a majority of the Parsha is found in the first two aliyahs. Now, we don't usually pay attention to the structure of the aliyahs as far as how many psukim are in each aliyah. But here it's so glaring, how could we not pay attention to it? The majority is just first two aliyahs, the rest of the aliyahs are relatively small. What's the reason for this? Why are the first two aliyahs so long? Well, the first aliyah, the answer is that the first aliyah is so long in order that we can get to the second aliyah in the aliyah of Levi. And here is why. The Magen Avraham writes, Nagu shehalevi kore kol parshas ha'egel. The minhag, the custom is that the Levi, a descendant of the tribe of Levi, is the one who gets the aliyah in which the entire story of the Chet HaEgel, the sin of the golden calf, is read. And the reason for this is lefi sheshevet Levi lo hayu b'maseh ha'egel, because the tribe of Levi was not involved with the story, the episode of the Chet HaEgel, meaning they didn't worship the Egel, they didn't construct the Egel. And if one would ask, well, why not put it in the aliyah of Cohen? The answer is that Aaron Cohen was involved, even though we understand why Aaron Cohen was involved. But nevertheless, because he's involved, we don't want to give it to the Kohen. We give it to the Levi because they were not involved. That tribe was not involved. So you say, okay, because they were not involved, so therefore we give them the aliyah. What's that about? And so the Chassam Sofer explains, for example, when it comes to a person who has a particular avera, sin, that people know about. So the Chassam Sofer writes that we make certain that when we give that person an aliyah, we make sure that that sin, wherever it is written in the Torah, that they don't get the aliyah in which that sin is read. Why? So that they're not embarrassed. So here too, explains the Magen Avraham, we don't want to embarrass anyone, virtually the entire Jewish people with the exception of the Levium. We don't want to embarrass anyone. And that's why we sort of structure the Parsha around this long piece, the Chet HaEgel, the greatest betrayal in the relationship between Hashem and the Jewish people, which took place. We are making sure that we structure the Parsha around the tribe of Levi getting that aliyah, so as not to embarrass the rest of the Jewish people. And what's so interesting is that anyone else who got that aliyah, if I were to get that aliyah, if someone else were to get that aliyah, I wouldn't feel directly responsible for the sin of the golden calf and the Chet HaEgel. And here we are thousands of years later, and there's a chashash, there is a concern that maybe someone will be embarrassed because they are a descendant of someone who may have took part in the sin of the golden calf. So Chazal say, no. We have to give that aliyah to a Levi so that no one gets embarrassed. If the concern is about a descendant thousands of years later not being embarrassed, how much more so in our lives, where we have scenarios in which we have acquaintances, friends, people who we know or people that we don't know, who may become embarrassed from something that we say or something that we do or something that we bring up. How we have to be so careful to be sensitive to their feelings and to make sure that we don't embarrass those people. So as we sit this Shabbos and read that long Levi Aliyah and look back at the terrible mistake that our ancestors made, let's make sure that on a certain level, as the Torah is sensitive, that we don't make the mistake of ever coming to a situation in which we embarrass someone else and really have a terrible impact on how they feel, not only about us, about others, but also about themselves. We can be sensitive and we can avoid people being embarrassed, just as Chazal were sensitive and avoid the embarrassment of the majority of Jewish people when reading the Parsha of Chet HaEgel this Shabbos. Thank you for listening and have a good Shabbos.